Okay, now on to my next talking point on the show. We've got my next special guest. We've got Martin Offiah. We're talking about environmentalism and how lockdown and the coronavirus has kind of overshadowed environmentalism in a way. Hello, Martin. Should have you on the line.
Hi, Danny.
And thank you for your contribution on today's show. So as I was opening up there, I was saying how global issues which are happening in the world right now are kind of being overtaken by coronavirus. And I know you're a family man. Are you concerned how the world is at the moment and how our children will inherit it?
That's why net zero is, has been put in place. A lot of people ask me, what net zero is. It is the world's answer to stop climate change. In 2019, the UK, I think, became the first economy in the world to pass laws to end their contribution to climate change. And, we're just trying to reduce the amount of greenhouse gases in the environment, which, has led to the, increase of the temperature, of the core of the earth and the surface of the earth and general temperatures that we of weather conditions, but also the fact that, bad air, people are dying. I think the figure's around about 40,000 people a year dying from air pollution. The planet is, not heading in a good direction. So we want to try and pull things back and, operate more sustainably. I think, I was a firm believer putting first things first. And I think originally, we, if we're honest, profits and savings were put ahead of sustainability. When we saw tariffs for our energy bills, we'd probably, I for one, I definitely know I would pick the cheapest one rather than the greenest one. Now we have to think sustainably rather than thinking in terms of does it make sense in pounds, shillings and pence. There's just a change in mindsets. And obviously the government has set out their green industrial revolution to bring us out of, COVID and what's happened over the last, 18 months and pick things up and but in a more sustainably, sensitive way to the planet.
Thank you so much for explaining that and how environmentalism has took a back seat of late due to the events happening in the world right now. I've got a few statistics which I'm just going to briefly touch on, and you talked about how one can get a more kind of economical tariff as well. So from the top, just run a few figures by you. 8 out of 10 Brits say they're planning on lowering their greenhouse emissions, which is a good proportion. And then on to 2050 seems like a pivotal year to dramatically cut one's emissions as well. So two questions in one then there, I guess. Is it good that we have a high percentage of Brits who are planning on lowering their greenhouse emissions, and 2050, is that enough time to combat this global issue as well?
I don't think it really matters whether there is enough time. It just more matters that we are doing something. And we can procrastinate and wondering, whether do we have enough time? Have we got the right solutions? I just think it's very important that we change our mindset and we put our best foot forward and we do something. The only way we'll know whether 2050 was enough time or not is when we get to 2050, we can look back and then, and see where we are. And that's the only way we'll know. But we have to have faith, a lot of things. We have to do the right things. And I think there's been a lot of procrastination. I know climate emergencies were declared a number of years ago by a number of governments and local authorities, but we still weren't doing anything. And I think net zero now is really shedding a light on this is what we're doing. And that's what Net Zero Week is all about, really. And, if you want to go and find some information about what you can actually do as an individual, if you're listening to this, if you can go to netzeroweek.com, it's a lot of information about what we are doing as, individuals, what we're doing as local authorities and commercial organizations in moving in the right direction.
So now is more important on than ever to address this issue. this global issue.
Absolutely. There's no better time than now to do something, you know. I use the analogy, if you're trying to get out of a burning building, you don't wait for the best strategy to get out of that burning building. The best strategy is to move now, isn't it? Because even if you're going in the wrong direction, it gives you time to pivot. Use all the knowledge that you already have about getting through windows is probably easier than getting through doors, or especially if they're locked, or walls. You know, you just try things, and a lot of people, you know, sometimes always focus on the problems. You know, problems and solutions are both out there. You know, whichever one you want to focus on, you're going to find them. So we need to focus on solutions. We're doing this. The government have set out their green industrial revolution with their 10-point plans about, you know, producing cleaner energy, investing in hydrogen and gas, greener public transport, greener shipping and planes, developing sources of finance that can reduce the cost of transition to the end user. You know, lots of carrot and stick and measures are there to promote, you know, better habits. But at the end of the day, it's all about us as individuals, whether we're working in the media, whether we're working in organizations, whether we're working from home. It's about our individual mindsets. What we do individually will affect the policies that we will make if we're in positions of power, whether that be in government or in organizations or families, you know. As I say, just choosing to use a greener tariff, choosing to change the way you get to work every day, choosing to, you know, what type of vehicle you drive. All these are start from mindsets, and then our habits, and you know, that's what's going to change the world. What ordinary people do is what changes the world. And it's, you know, you can lead a horse to water, but for that horse to drink, you have to change the horse's mindset. It's got to want to drink that water.
Yes, and I wanted to ask about what your opinions on imposing duty on energy bills. Do you believe a super tax for people who are heavy users is a right method of going about things to?
Yes, but I'm deeper than that. You know, there are good measures. Yes, I applaud all things. We try things. If they, like LTNs, if they work, we keep them. If they don't work, we don't keep them. But if we focus just on those measures, and that's sometimes what can procrastinate us, because we spend a lot of time worrying about, is what we're going to do correct, is what we're doing not correct, when what we should be worrying is about just doing something, taking a step forward, do what you can do. You know, we always, and that's what I think we need to focus on, because I'm a firm believer that where your focus goes, your energy flows, and too much emphasis has just gone on, is this the right thing? This is not the right thing. People, you know, lambasting electric vehicles, people saying that, you know, we should be doing this. You know, generally speaking, let's just do things. We'll work out what is right and what is wrong as we go along.
And you mentioned, this might be a good tip for my listener as well, how switching to the green tariff on your energy supplier, you'll not only help save the environment, but you also save money as well.
Yeah, that's always a good thing. And that's what the government are doing. You know, they're developing new sources of finance to help reduce the cost of transition to the end user. Because, you know, there are only certain people in this world who are pioneers, who will experience those hardships, who go beyond and experience things that, you know, where there's no data, where fear lies. You know, if I harken back to the world as it was many years ago, it took a certain type of person to get in a boat and go and discover far off lands and bring back things. And the same way it is now, there are pioneers, there are people who live with electric vehicles, not knowing anything about the infrastructure out there. And there are some of us who don't want to do that. So it's up to the pioneers to go and be pioneers, experience the hardships, and then we put the infrastructure out there so that for those of us who don't want to experience any hardship in our lives, to go and you know, transition to electric vehicles painlessly, to you know, to go and try and find ways, you know, which are already been discovered, you know. But we've all got two legs. We all know we can walk places, and we can all say tomorrow, oh, I'm going to try and use my legs on journeys where before I might have even got the bus, or I might have used the car. You know, I'm a culprit of that. A few years ago, I would always use the car, even to go to the local shop. Now I don't do that. So it's just about changing mindsets, changing habits, And as a collective, those habits compounded over a number of individuals and compounded over time leads to reduced carbon footprint.
Thank you so much, Martin Offiah, for joining me on the show, the Denison Radio syndicated programmes on this subject of environmentalism, how it's a wake-up call, I guess, and the way you come across, you're very passionate about it, and yes, it's great that you've contributed on today's show, so raise awareness on this matter so people can each play their parts. Thanks for joining me today.